is a certain contingent of Mavs fans that doesn't want to hear this. I know there is a vocal minority, and I do mean a vocal minority, that is boycotting the team right now. Yesterday afternoon, there was a crowd of about 1,000 people outside of the American Airlines Center in Dallas. 1,000 people that had nothing better to do on a beautiful Saturday afternoon than to organize a protest against an NBA team for making a business decision. They were overcome with emotion as they expressed their fake outrage over a trade. Look, I am very passionate about my teams. I get it. I love the Saints. I have enjoyed watching the Mavs this season, but if you're spending your Saturday afternoon yelling into a megaphone, protesting an NBA franchise, that is a you problem. I understand that it's not a popular decision to trade Luka Doncic. And look, I get it. Like I told you guys last week, if I were Nico Harrison, there's absolutely no way I am trading the best player in the league. But this is one of those situations where two things can be true at the same time. I can disagree with the Mavs trading Luka Doncic while also acknowledging that the Mavs got better in this trade. I know it's just one game. Hell, it's actually just 3/4 of one game, but with the addition of Anthony Davis, Tony, along with the addition of Max Christie, who is being criminally overlooked in this deal, even though they lost Luka, you cannot deny the fact that the Mavs got better. This team is going to be dangerous. I think they're the best team in the Western Conference. Even though the vocal minority on social media, mainly on Reddit, which is the worst social media platform, Reddit is nothing but an echo chamber. It's pimply-faced teenagers with blue hair using mommy's internet to express their desire to change genders. Even though the vocal minority wants to boycott the franchise, you just can't deny the fact that the Mavs vastly improved, at least in the short term. Nico Harrison built this roster to beat Cleveland, to beat Boston. Well, KC, what about Oklahoma City? What about them? No one's worried about the Thunder. Oklahoma City is built for the regular season. Dallas is built for the playoffs. But since the trade last weekend, we have heard from everyone except one person, Mark Cuban. There's not a doubt in my mind, if Mark Cuban still owned the Mavs, there is no way he is trading Luka Doncic. In the past, he claimed that he would divorce his wife before he traded Luka. We have heard from Jason Kidd, we have heard from Kyrie, AD, heard from LeBron, we have heard from the talking heads at ESPN who are giving their opinions from management. In the past week, we have heard from everyone except Mark Cuban. Until now. Over the weekend, Mark Cuban attended some kind of seminar with Bill Gates, and for the first time publicly, he let everyone know exactly how he felt about this trade. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble upon this video, be sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. Link to the main channels in the description below. Here is what Mark Cuban had to say about the Luka trade. Watch it for yourself.
If after you left Microsoft, you found out that Steve Ballmer traded Windows 11, like the new hot operating system, for Windows 10, the Hall of Fame, but older upgrade. What would you do?
I might have to hide from the press.
I know a couple other people that are in that situation.
I thought that was a very good analogy. Mark Cuban is basically echoing the sentiment of the fan base, and to his credit, Mark Cuban has always been in touch with the fan base in Dallas. It's one of the reasons that he was one of the best owners in sports. Mark Cuban is basically saying that the Mavs traded their future for the present. He's absolutely right. Nico Harrison traded away the next decade for a chance to win a title or maybe 2, 3 titles in the next 3 or 4 years. Now, this is where most of the outrage is coming from. People can't understand why you would trade the future for the present. Here's the thing. The future isn't guaranteed. You don't know what Luka Doncic is going to be in the next 5 years. With 4 calf strains in the last 3 or 4 years, he could be the next Joel Embiid. I watched Joel Embiid the other night. Dude is 30 years old. He couldn't beat the Lizzo in a 40-yard dash. 30 years old. Joel Embiid moves around like he is 60. I think management in Dallas was concerned about Luka's health long term, and mainly, I think they were concerned about the culture. I kept hearing that term repeated this past week, culture. Anytime I hear ownership or management use that term, it tells me that a player doesn't align with their vision. It tells me that there's problems we don't know about behind the scenes that they feel could not be resolved. Heard someone make an interesting point the other day. I think it was Kenny Smith on Inside the NBA. He said something to the effect of, teams don't trade unhappy stars. They try to make them happy. When teams trade away stars, it means management, ownership is unhappy. For whatever reason, Luka Doncic wore out his welcome in Dallas. I keep seeing people complaining about the return. We didn't get enough in return. We didn't get enough draft picks. Draft picks? 90% of draft picks are completely useless. Most players that get drafted, they're out of the league in 2 or 3 years, if they even make the roster. The Mavs got plenty in return for Luka. Is it an equal return? Absolutely not. But the return is never equal when you're trading away a player of that caliber. You got an MVP candidate in return who's an all-NBA player, one of the best defenders in the league. And you got a 21-year-old Max Christie on a rookie contract who's got the potential to develop into a star. Oh yeah, and you're also one of the best teams in the league. Before last weekend, Nico Harrison, he was highly regarded amongst the fan base in Dallas. I used to see people saying all the time, "In Nico, we trust." Nico Harrison didn't wake up last week and suddenly become a dumbass. There are some bad general managers in the NBA. Go ask Pelicans fans about David Griffin. But Nico Harrison isn't one of them. He didn't suddenly become dumb. He is building a championship contender now. He's not worried about the future, clearly. He's not worried about 2030. He's building a roster that can win a title now. And the current roster in Dallas has a really good chance of doing that. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.